Not to beat a dead horse here and keep talking about the safety position, but that is the biggest need for the Green Bay Packers when we start looking across the board positionally, what they need to address and what they probably more than likely will address when it comes to free agency out there. What Brian Gutekunst is going to address, it's probably going to be at the safety position. Hence, me talking about that because yesterday marked the deadline to retain upcoming free agents with the franchise and transition tags. Yesterday at 3 p.m. was that deadline. So, who did not get that transition or franchise tag? And what does that mean for the Green Bay Packers? We're going to cover that in this video. Before I jump into it, if you like the content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Okay. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about a couple of names that are out there, a couple of names that did not get that franchise tag, names that the Packers might be taking a look at and maybe pursuing. One of those guys out of with the New York Jets, out of Pittsburgh, Jordan Whitehead. Let's take a look at the year he had: 54 solo tackles, a half sack, 4 picks. This is a guy that he can fly, and he's only 5'10", 98 pounds. But I think he would make a good piece when we start talking about Jeff Hafley's defense, what Jeff Hafley's looking for. He is one of those guys. Okay, so another guy that did not get that franchise tag is Gardner Johnson out of Detroit. I do not want Gardner Johnson. He's got attitude problems, and you pair him up with Jair, it's just too much attitude. I do not want anything from Detroit. Although, yes, Detroit is a good football team. I just don't want any leftovers, any scraps from the Detroit Lions. I just hate them that much. A guy that is high on our free agent board when we start looking across: Jeff Hafley, who played with Jeff Hafley in college at Ohio State. Jordan Fuller. Fuller has got some experience, like I said, with Jeff Hafley there just in college. So I think that he's going to be used to his coaching style. I think this could be an easier transition when we start looking across the safety board. He had 51 solo tackles last year, 3 forced fumbles, 3 picks. This is a guy, 6'2", 203 pounds. He's got some good size, 26, out of Ohio State. This is a guy that I think would fit in very nicely. He would be number 2 or 3 on my board of wish lists of who I think the Packers should go and get when we start looking at money. Okay, speaking of money, a guy that did not get that tag, but a guy that's going to command a lot of money out there is Winfield Jr. out of Tampa Bay. Let's see the year that he had. He had 64 solo tackles, 6 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, 3 picks. The dude does everything out there. 5'9", so he doesn't have the size. Out of Minnesota, he is a good football player, though. Obviously, I think he would make an absolute great pairing with whoever they go and get in the draft. But again, Winfield Jr. is going to command, I think, a little bit more than what the Packers' budget is going to be. So another guy out there, Geno Stone out of Baltimore. He came out of another Big Ten guy, came out of Iowa. 35 solo tackles, 7 picks. Okay, so he's got a great nose for the ball, which is exactly what Jeff Hafley is looking for. 210 pounds, 5'11". He's got some decent size. I think Geno Stone would make a good fit. He's about 4 or 5 down on my list. Julian Blackman out of Indianapolis, came out of Utah for college. 52 solo tackles last season, 4 picks, 6 foot, good size, 202 pounds. I just don't think, he's a little bit lower on my list of all the guys that we mentioned for sure. But when we start talking about who the Packers currently have in Darnell Savage, another Big Ten team out of Maryland, 5'11", 198 pounds. Savage, here's my take on Savage. Okay, Savage is a crazy athletic athlete. Okay, he's super athletic, but he was playing out of position. Joe Barry had him playing out of position. He is not a good safety. Let me rephrase that. He is a good safety. He's not a great safety, and I don't think it's exactly what Jeff Hafley is looking for. Again, he played out of position. He mainly played at Maryland. He played a slot corner. Okay, that's actually what we need, right? Especially if we don't bring back Keyshawn Nixon. Okay, so the Packers are going to be left with this dilemma of okay, we need that slot corner, we need that nickel corner. Keyshawn Nixon, filled both those needs, right? Because he played that nickel corner for us, but yet was also that stud return guy that the Packers are going to need if they don't keep Nixon, then they are going to have to go and draft somebody, a good return guy. But when we start talking about Savage, okay, Packers obviously didn't franchise tag him, so they're going to let him see what he can get out on the market. He's going to command quite a bit of money, probably more than the Packers are willing to be able to pay. Okay, so when we start talking about that, if he doesn't, on the off chance that Savage does not command a whole lot of money out there, then I would absolutely love for him to come back to Green Bay, but not as a safety, but as that corner, that nickel slot, that slot corner. Okay, I think that Savage would be absolute. That's what he was meant to play. Again, he's been playing out of position. Okay, so when we start talking about another guy, a guy that's probably number one on my board, it would be Xavier McKinney. Okay. Xavier McKinney out of New York. He did not. And that's a big surprise that he did not get that franchise tag. I really thought that he was going to. They didn't mark that. He's a 3-year starter, drafted in 2020. The dude does quite a bit out there. Okay. So what did he do last season? Last season, McKinney had 67 solo tackles, 1 forced fumble, 3 picks, half sack. The guy, he can do a little bit of everything, and I think that he would fit in super nicely when we start talking about what Jeff Hafley's looking for. I think this guy would fit that mold probably the best out of the guys that we mentioned out there. He's got some good size to him. I really like McKinney. I think McKinney is a guy that the Packers should absolutely pursue. But what would that mean for the Packers if they do pursue him? He's going to come with a price tag. Okay. So he's going to be probably top 10 highest paid safeties out there. So it might be a little bit too much for the Packers when we start talking about what they have cap space available. Now, the Packers do have that cap flexibility to pursue a guy like McKinney, depending on how they evaluate him. But after pushing money on future caps the past few years, Brian Gutekunst has set himself up to sign that big player. McKinney might be that guy. He's going to command around $12 million or so a year. Okay, so that's what he's going to be able to command out there. So do they do that? They obviously they have some work to do on their roster yet. One of those being Aaron Jones. They still need to restructure that deal, whatever that looks like. They need to free up some cap space there. And then obviously Bakhtiari, they can free up that $21 million, you know, from cap space. Packers currently are sitting at $13.6 million in cap space right now. So they could afford him right now, but they need that money to sign the draft picks that they go and draft. So again, they need to cut ties with Bakhtiari and restructure Aaron Jones's deal to be able to go and get that McKinney type guy that would be an absolute beast in Jeff Hafley's system. Let me know your thoughts. What do you guys think? Out of the guys I mentioned, which route do you think the Packers should go? Go Pack, go.